Hello, everyone. Welcome to another Conversations with Linda. And today I have a returning guest who just couldn't wait to come back on this show. He's a strategic advisor, Eldon Sprickerhoff, and he's the owner of Caledon Ventures. Hi, my friend. Nice to see you again.
Linda, nice to see you again. Thank you for having me be back on.
Well, I did chase you around for how long?
It's been it was pre-lockdown, and I know I was less bristly, right? I had this is my hirsute mode.
I love it. I love it. And also, you came on my TV show on Rogers, and you were a wonderful guest. So thank you for your time. Actually, you've changed a lot since I last chatted with you on this show. So do you want to tell us a little about some of those changes you've been making? Because you look very happy, and I want to know why.
Well, there's a few things. I think I stepped. When we first spoke, I was still at the company that I co-founded back in 2001. So I was eSentire out of Waterloo, and we had a nice discussion about computer security. And I think so about two-ish years ago, I stepped back from the day-to-day operations of eSentire, took a little sabbatical, started focusing on some other different projects, ended up writing a book. I was doing some work with Roger Cybersecurity Catalyst out of TMU. So all these many different things coming together as sort of changed gears. Still, was doing some work with eSentire on sort of strategy piece, but out of the day to day and sort of juggling things that different projects and things that I thought were interesting.
And I think it's about time because you've been working very, very, very hard and travelling such a lot. So now's the time for you, your family, wherever. I want to know more about your book. I've been watching it. I've been watching the, shall I say, hysteria. Eldon's written a book. It's amazing. I think you've been on every chat show you can go on. I'm quite envious. And tell us more about it. I'm really interested.
So when I started working at again Rogers Catalyst, as a entrepreneur in residence, and I was meant to be a technical resource, and so I fully went in there to sort of answer questions of a technical nature, and so the program itself is really interesting. I think it's maybe the only cybersecurity focused accelerator in Canada. And they started just about 5 years ago. And so, I've been working with them for 4 years. So before I left eSentire, I started sort of on a part-time, volunteer sort of basis. And they would bring in a cohort, like 8 or 9 cybersecurity companies every quarter, and sort of try to help them out, inspire them, change their trajectory. And so, I went in as a technical resource. I found that out of 10 questions they would ask me, one would be technical and the other 9 were business. So it was, and I don't have an MBA. I took at school, I took a couple courses in organizational behavior, but it was in economics. But my background's computer science, mathematics. So, but it would be how do I find a co-founder? How do I find salespeople? How do I hire people? How do I make my first sale? How do I speak to investors? All of these things that I didn't know starting. But when I started the company in 2001, there was no YouTube, there was no Y Combinator. Communitech was only in early stages then. And it's completely different now. YouTube has full channels of startups, and there's podcasts, and but I still had even in the last year, they just not sure how to do these very sort of early stage business pieces. And so, because, if I'm in the situation where if I have to do something twice, I want to automate it. So I just started writing things down, and it was my sort of it was my FAQ, FAQ or TLDR that I started writing things down, just refer to this. And the next thing I knew I had 55,000 words. And so it was just advice, things I would have done differently, what I would have wanted to know at the beginning, what would have helped me. And part of the idea is, you're going to make mistakes. These are the mistakes I made. This is the struggle that I had. You're going to make mistakes, but make different mistakes, right? Be a mistake innovator. And the central core in the book is it revolves around this thing I call the chief survival officer. So this is what that might need. The survival of your startup is first and foremost. Everything is out to get you, and so you need to dig in. And these are the tactics to survive.
That's amazing, because I also thought that the Rogers, what was it called again? Rogers
Cybersecurity Catalyst.
Yeah, I thought that was all about techie and cybersecurity and stuff like that. And I guess you've opened my eyes a bit, because in your line of work anyhow, because I thought they would just want the technical expertise. But when you think about it, they're just like any other small business, aren't they? Growing business. They want to know how you did it. Because, so you see, I've always looked at people like you, Jim Still, Richard Branson. I don't know Richard Branson, but I know you, thank goodness. I know Jim. But I mean, I looked at the way you guys did it versus having to reinvent the wheel. And it's not just about, the techie bits, is it, and how to automate my business. It's like everything you've done, and whether they're mistakes or not, you've learned from them. What is the book called?
The book is called Committed, right? So that's...
Maybe you should be. I love it. I love the title. I love the cover. I love everything about it.
So I could, I think there's an obvious double entendre, right, that goes along with that. And so, first you need to really commit to the survival and success of your business, your entity. There's some indication entrepreneurship is a mental illness, a defect, right? So if from being addicted to being in the arena. So it's some of your friends and family might think you should be committed to a facility, and then there's a third one, a technical one, right? So in a database, if you make changes before you lock those changes into place, it's called a commit. So so there's a triple entendre in play here. And so it fit those different scenarios, right? Like you're going to start a business. Are you crazy? And yeah, so that was the core of the. There were a few other choices, but that one I settled on pretty quickly.
Do you also talk a little bit about what you had to give up? Part of your family life, maybe spending less time with the family, because I interview a lot of geeky guys. You've heard of Recorded Future, yeah? Recorded Future. I love the guys there. So Christopher, he said the same thing, one of the co-founders. He sold it now, as you know, though. And he said he sometimes thinks, did I let my family down, not spending enough time with them? Did you have those thoughts?
Oh, absolutely. It's one of the biggest regrets is that I think especially for the first several years of my life, I did not dedicate as much time to my family, my child, my wife, as I could have. There was one thing that probably, again, one of those little shakabuku moments that changed things. So when our daughter, who was she was in grade 7 and 8, so before she went to high school, I made a point of saying, okay, everywhere that I would go for work, like fly for work or to give a talk or anything like that, the entire family would come with me. So the three of us would go everywhere. So those 2 years, like from before high school, we could, on the sly. Yeah, on the sly, sort of sneak her out. She had, we got homework arranged, and we made sure she did that. And she, if I would go to a conference or give a talk, I would go do my work, and in the evening, or so during the day, Carol and Siobhan would go and check out the city. And then when I finished my day, they would give me a curated experience of what they'd had during that day. And that was that was one of those things where it gave the kid a better idea of what I was doing, what it was like to sacrifice to put everything together. And it exposed her to just culture, and because Carol took her to museums and different places. So she was I guess that's like 12, 13, 11, 12, something like that in that area. And she ended up just going everywhere in those 2 years, right? Everywhere across the U.S., Japan, Greece, London, Grand Cayman, Australia, France, like Paris, Germany, right? So just like dozens,
Just the one daughter.
just one kid, right? But dozens.
Okay, so that makes it a bit easier.
Yeah, much easier, much easier. And it was funny.
Didn't your wife work with you though in the early days? Did that bring you closer together though?
Yeah, she did the books. She did the books for the company for the first 8 or 9 years.
But when you look back just now and you seem so happy with all these memories of your wife and your daughter travelling with you, I don't think you should have any regrets. You seem like you've been the perfect husband and father, and you've juggled so much, and I'm sure that they appreciate everything you've done for them, which you're very thoughtful. And I'm going to say, I mean, my husband's very thoughtful, but in your line of work, when you're travelling a lot like that, some dads, fathers, husbands just do it, and then they do have regrets years later. At least you did something in those 2 years. So I'm very proud of you. That's something new I found out about you. You're a softie. You've got a heart in there somewhere. Because you've got to be cutthroat in business.
Yeah, but Linda, my heart is full of love, right? But that's not what people have to worry about, right? So I'm as competitive as anyone can be, and so it's until you see that side, it comes as a bit of surprise. It truly does.
Well, I've always seen the nice shoe because I'm not a competitor, so I'm safe. I want to see this. And you did mention that you've got a bit more spare time now to spend with the family, and you've been travelling. You want to do more travelling. You seem to have it all, actually. You're semi-retired, so that means you haven't actually left us completely. So
Yeah, it's I'd say retired, or it's so. I was talking to somebody yesterday who's quite a bit older and just started retirement. I said, look, it's not enough just to be busy, right? Because you can fill your days. You have to be useful. Okay, you have to be busy. You have to be busy and useful. Otherwise, you're just sort of you're just going to spend your day trying to grab your thumb, and you could do that for 18 hours a day. And you have to be both occupied and with things that be again ultimately useful to someone or someone else. So I have a few other startups that I work with on sort of advisory pieces. The Caledon Ventures thing is just sort of a roll up of my several projects that sort of rolls up into this umbrella. So there's some board work, and there's talks that I do a lot around the book, and yeah, just so lots of little projects that I find particularly interesting, and get to be useful to other people.
I love that, because a lot of businesses don't think like that. They think it's about me, me, me. You're happy with writing the book? You enjoyed the process? Have you got another one coming along anytime soon?
I can't say that. I can't say that I enjoyed the process. It was therapeutic. Okay, so it truly was therapeutic, and part of it was, people would these founders would ask me the questions, and when you're a core mentor, you get very involved and deep into it, and I said, I remember exactly how this thing happened to me. And I thought that given the 21 years that I was working with directly 101, in eSentire, that there were, skeletons that were well buried. And I discovered, they're having the same problems. Like they weren't buried that well. I thought I'd left them behind. So I was able to, exhume them, carefully examine, right? Right, Yorick sort of thing, and then give them a decent burial, and recognize that was part of dealing with the stress that goes along with from the very startup days up to scale up days, and all the curveballs that are thrown at you. So I put pretty much everything into it. I don't know if I've got another one in me. I am currently, you can see the mic beside me. There's professional mics here. I am struggling through the audiobook version of it. It is anything but lovely because there's a whole different I've learned so well for writing the book and getting it published. I learned more about the publishing world than I ever expected to. Now, working through the audiobook, I've learned more about narration, and I feel such a respect for professional narrators because there's tone, there's distance, there's flow, there's flubbed words, post production, all of this consistent, sort of the NPR voice that I have to do. And it is that is one of the several projects that I have going on right now, right?
I love it. I love it. And, like everything else you've done in your life, you will persevere. You will do an excellent job. You'll get a gold star. What would you like the book again, show us the book again so we can remember, everybody's got I know you're a bestseller and you don't need anybody else to buy it, but it's a lovely book. So words of wisdom, people listening to this who want to be you and think it's been easy. What's kind of, what would you say to those people to take with them and go, well?
I don't think anybody wants to be me. Quite.
It's your experience, though, isn't it? It's like you've been honest and said it was tough. You didn't see your family as much as you wanted, So basically, people start out saying, "I want to be rich. I want to be famous. I don't care about anybody else. I'm going to climb my way to the top." And I don't think you did it that way because you're a nice person. Otherwise, I wouldn't be talking to you. I know nice people.
I think. The best that I can hope for today, and this is something that, there was one of my mentees, recent mentees, we started working with them, and I said, look, speed read the book, okay? That's what I need you to do. So, and that was the first cohort that had come out after the book was written. So it was like, let's just get everything out of the way. I've written. It's very personal, right? It's very honest. It's very open. It's very personal. We speed read the book. She went through the book. We had one call. The next weekly call, she said, "I doubled my sales this week. I doubled my sales this week based on what we were talking about, what's in the book, and then that sort of that call afterwards." And then I gave a talk in January at Tech2 or Tech2, I think they're calling it now. And just sort of out of the blue, as I was discussing some things, she was in the audience and piped up, "This book changed my life." And that was just, it's like, I couldn't ask for anything more. Um, just to be useful, to have connected and be able to change someone's trajectory for the better is the best that I could hope for. I've done, really very little publicity for it. My hope is that it's a sleeper hit, in the startup community. I don't know who reads anymore. And, and so, it's just, I would like it to be helpful. So I'm immensely gratified to find that has been the case.
So I'm getting from that the word of wisdom you're putting out there to newcomers, younger people who want to be like you as they grow up and start their own businesses. Be authentic, give, don't just take. Be a nice person and be genuinely happy for other people, which you are. You're a very committed, I like it, committed member of the community. You've got me saying it now. You're very committed to helping people, and you've always been extremely lovely to me. I was introduced to you by Dave, my husband. He's very techy, and people often say about me, you can run but you can't hide, so thank you for letting me catch you.
Well, you said, like I said, you've been very, very flexible. It is becoming increasingly difficult to lock down time. One of the things that the side effect that I thought was that I could pre-book. I would just, get inbound things. I could sort of deflect them or answer them. And I thought if I put everything in the book, I could just say, just read the book. It's there. And it has had the side effect of, triple, quadruple the inbound questions. It was like I've
Over the place, yeah. You are now very famous.
no, just like Mike, like nano famous, whatever is smaller than pico famous. There we go, smaller than nano. But
I don't think you've ever wanted to be in the limelight per se, have you? I don't think you've ever said, I want to be famous. You are a genuinely lovely man, a gentleman, and I can't thank you enough for taking the time today to share your story with me. Thank you.
you're too kind, and you need to meet more people. I think, Linda, if to get a better selection to which to compare me.
You are so funny. Thank you.
Do take care.